Sigalisigwegu, Gandahawi Nyungits, and I'm here with all of the elders, and we'll just go through a few questions and have them talk in Oneida. One of the first questions I have is, when did you first notice people wearing ribbon skirts and ribbon shirts?
Myself, I didn't notice it till in the early 80s. I went to a powwow in Walpole Island, and I was surprised to see all these women in ribbon skirts and all out there dancing. But they were having a great time, so I stayed the whole day and watched because everything was new to me. It's the first powwow I'd ever been to. So when I got tired of watching them dancing, well, they'd have an intermission. Then we'd go and look for some good corn soup and scone dogs. And that's after intermission, they'd carry on again. And then it would go on right till the evening. Then they would have an evening, what's it called? Nothing, go ahead. Grand entry. They would have an evening grand entry to see who was the best dancers. And they usually picked 3 women, I believe, and 3 men out of the whole group that was dancing. And Walpole always drew a big crowd.
And that was in the 80s?
Yeah. But that's the first time I ever seen ribbon skirts in my lifetime. But today, it doesn't matter where you go or any event you go to, there's always going to be somebody there with a ribbon skirt on. I think we know.
Well, I don't know when I first seen it, because I was at the powwows all the time and everything looked natural to me. I wasn't really interested in how they were dressed or nothing like that. I was too busy cooking.
So he was a vendor, so he didn't really have time to see what was going on out on the grounds.
Oh yeah, you had the chip wagon, right?
Yeah, and they'd come up to get their food, and that's the only thing when I'm in the back there cooking, so you just barely see them, and they're just hollering at you. I don't even know when that was. I think I seen it more up northern, maybe Wiki. Maybe you notice it more up there because more people from the northern country. Nityohtune.
Naginin here any quest Alabama. And what let's take a whiskey or lenios like a talk.
No.
Donino Takato, Porch Indians, Cree Indians, Katiko Tunutati Nagle, Launa showcases toy what ribbon shirts, Kale, ribbon skirts, Wagilo. Kakatika no neo tanti needed one nagle nanoa, a second second not nityo Kano sesna neki or nuts to ribbon skirts or kalela no quesana dahundasa ribbon shirts or hanuts. To get Nino take a dirty lot to wakat cut 20 chinino wakato jago yanindo de wakat kato tigano got nate. Gilo kano sesne yodli watandiakium got nate tikan ribbon skirts kaya gots to hug it datoni ribbon shirt kahots to hug it lanoque. Kwane jinyo cheese at slowly. Agilo ya te wanis la ke tuki ni ochis at sloni ka no sesne ya house. Kunu ko dix to hoka ko kone house dresses your nuts to kale la no kone winen overhauls negine lo nuts to ne nasty good na he. Chima nutl James Low Church checker church could yo kono tikane na te kale overhauls nasty ko kwa pipioya overhauls neilonatstu jahkin on tuttikan koslonana allo keilas koslonana allo felt hat lonna nekin nityohtune keijälle tikan hakillo tano tukuini on vakatot jakot ja kotkan vassas ne jaknessa jaknolha jahkin no te katot tikan hakillo bi ribbon skirts kalle ribbon shirts hahonatstu hake ne kuine kan chikeksa tanonan tekloni vassa ja te vakosli ako viiva hooni se kun jää kilkiohti tän va tekloni vassa ni oslaake kaikka jos vakatlooli se nyötsi ne nyötsi onatslo niin kunnon kuin kalle lannun kuin se kadevi tonin on todella tuokat katsotikan porch in creek launat showcase lo akilon kui ribbon shirts o kalle ribbon skirts ne tuonne kilo tuin on niitä on nuka katrunua niin jo sit vat kathosti te tuon nagle sinne tikun sluun he kalle sluuni toki on niin kuttikat keijälle ja niitä keijälle akilo uikan ken hakilo koto kuutio tahsa vanka nuun tonne tsi hakun sluuni hake kalle ahun sluuni hake lonnun kuessuun.
Natadin se niin, että eikä sinä tässä tämän niin hellotti tässä kohtuu. Haasen hodun kun kalon saasen hodun, että niin, että ladiliman taisat sun
jahkin ne nahte tähän diliman.
Kai nahte.
Kai nahte teho na hakikon jo sat sluuni nokci. Kuotessa naksaa se koskin hoja notja katsluuni ji. Kun kotodio nata oleona nuana koko kilo viit johon tui. Ilnatstelista haku kun etika ribbon skirt ilnatstu no kyllä niin niitä katahso ha ta katahso kana gladiti nenyotti ilnatslu niin kilo vakatan hän on hajon kun ribbon skirt nyt ha kilo kiitan nuo viskeualle visknios lakehkaa toniotsi katot kilo vi kuotessa naksaa sekin viisi hiokja ribbon skirtti okatsuna koko ne johon tuolla natstelista koko ne työnata oli ribbon skirt ja natsuna kun niin akelle kaikki jotkut hiiken hodun kas hiekolha joka kas läk vakatstun tän nuokeksta no kui vakelle weni kuisi no niin aika heven ribbon skirt haakatsten viivakaton viivakaton hänä joku niin toki niin on nuo viskniosla kehkaan jota saa tytillä to nekin tika laueskas kuitika eldraka neikka loitselet sauntolissa näik vinnan sauntolissa no hiisa jonkin talako ja katon kode toki nähe on tikana kilo vika teumpadessa naksaa se ja kun ne tonjotsi on natsluun niin niitä katassa
Noksi notkai navo on niin, että liuat on digin desagvahto on niin, että on satslung.
Se kvinnoa niin se saa liua.
Kaikki niin nokaakin on nekin saakat.
Se on niin liuoto.
Nähte vois vaan. Nekin niin kohtjudella tuo vakat katsotian ne nähte kaanheks. Jun hiksan tunnu he lunatstu lannun kuinka lonnatia tawidu kalle te kaanheksan haudi kalle suaga kohtjudella tuokat kattu ei kahnawaagi ja kueskuika neitsini tuolla noda tona liwa hele tono on kikwa nen tochaga we hakun kiitien toniotto lonnatia talonu ne nähte lunatstu pion heksan tunnu heillä na ja tawidu lannun kuin kalle tekan heksan hänen kun go natslun ja nekin ne tian tahnu kausi wadlo ja wan le de go ni wasan kai jos lasseedas neto nen toki niin nahi on tien kwahtudella tuokat kahtuneen naho doksia kuitenkin kun viitsi nahtuakat kahton aditsia no tuvi hakte no de dokat kahtuneen naho noksia nekin niitään hakio ne tone kwahtudella tuokat kahton noksia niin on tunteet jo tuntat hiiton jo tsiagatson no det kuitenkin niitä otsiot koksia Tony Chen got some easy to go to. No, then John did not. K.O. Tony Yot Kale, Liat La Tony Yot. Hat so neat yet, Lawati don't John. Yet he die and how in Poyasu, we not in your jar, Tony Lawa, because I no come. Make it yakini, no do. They were agree what solid sound, then would our way, we can simulate in Kaikanawa eulogy. I agree on Jonagua. They thought we stay at no day and got on a now. What got he was not together like in it. Well, in the lago, we what nature got to soon hate to know. Jimen, your children soon hand can go. Make we was the get lolly net on it. When we to know the Otandi, gone to in 21 on your order. That no negligence not on the only hand, who can go that son to know how you can when your Saturday night tone. Tonte nun da di no and a good da di how it go to your Jones in a good not no scan a great week on to. That not the only one on that when we got to the yoke. Gone, pigs on day gone. They were not going to be.
They did like so.
Tanu na gwinuske gan olon da tiso na sakwen yo dohak.
La Nicola.
Nagi wa gat kato so tigan.
Nagi na ete ke don go de to ni no he oswego wakat ko se or we ho sa tot kalu $125 muska.
Kai ka little in Italia on esquit to sono di nat gel. You don't think you'll wait kato muskon yo way.
La Nicola.
So sat gun, you need to tear this way go at Cato Sweet on your Longuelo Nadiada, it got to eat talk no act to day, the one away. Kale, young Guagot Sunyakwa, they target that Henike Yadas, you know that, and you go sat on Scanega, Jackie de Dodok, then Yayak, the one you will scalia.
Hoya kwini at chini dwak panyo dan hagilo we chini negyo kwini wakanu ten kono get on ten aten en la no kala na konyan no nit wana class la ya kale wen kwinen was ka Six Nations skill de wa chine kini tikan a wake to ne Brazil ngi kunanwa 20 years ago that nishi no Neti ko on kilo da nun la lain da kwa kwi ka lao nat conference so he on ka la go he da kiat represent kan kwa west agilo west no ko ni tupen na ti wi on kilo li wo hanilo ne on des wa ha we ni se ni swa ko nyo de tonu ne tona ti wi ti ko wa ka ton hane wa ko nya ko nyanya chi ni we need wa ko nyora thono ne genetica dia david ha eniol has kaletika yok kuiladina don ko wo kani te ka tanu ko it ko tika beaded he so gi what you be to kale gon son no ni nen beaded to kale ho ko sa no ni nen ha ta ke no ni nen tika chi ne talon te kale leggings ona contestas ne tuniachi niku konyo dan hagilo ka no nit wana class la nokchi la no ko ya ni te wakanu te na te ne ni ono lo dia kyo ni ne chi ne nyochi hun sloni na dia to hun chu nokchi ka to ka ha to kyo khoni ne thone no chi ka ha wi chin na sat slonia te ka thoni kale te go skwini achi glondone lo dix to hokun kanchi Kanyona yes kaha se sat slonia saxoni to get your saxoni chin sa kanyota. Nati wini ala tuni achi wakan wakia ni chin your gat sloni kan yes kahan chung sloni nen. Nekyong ne lago tika Kansas yet jaguada ne wichong wata johati. Tawa untita ne jayadat. Nen so all hane tika na nui bat jaguadla ne. Mo Yukiloli Conference Center. Ngi wa gat slonya te ni chi wi ni wat slonya koda. Tayun daw ya te tika no ni ne tono chi got sloni hati. Ne tono da yo wa ilo. Are you Oneida? Wa gilo yes I am. And this lady that got on a plane, she from Kansas, and she said she's Oneida too. And she says we're one of the last families, and her last name was Cornelius. And she, when, like I said, like we have our own dress, like the women, the Oneida women, how they dress, we have our own dress. And that's how she was dressed. Her and I had the same kind of dress on. Of course, they're different colors, but the same patterns. That's why she noticed. That's why she came up to me and she says, "Are you Oneida?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she says, "I am too." And I was so surprised that, this lady, she's from Kansas. But I do know that they were Oneidas that traveled on to Kansas. And she says they were one of the few families that were left in Kansas that were Oneida. And like I said, her last name was Cornelius. And we communicated back and forth for quite a number of years. And then all of a sudden, it stopped. So I don't know what happened to her. But that's where I knew that the Oneida women had certain dress.
Because it was all the way down there too.
And it's kind of strange, a woman way in Kansas, Missouri, and would have the same dress as we have here.
Well, she's Oneida, though.
And she's Oneida, yeah.
Ja kun on te la no kwet sam te det san te kan na te ne ni hu ko nyo ta kas no ko to ko hu slu. Ka to ka ha do so te la te ka chi na te yot li wa ta yo no ne wa hu slu ni ni no ne. Ti ni te ni ke no na te ke ya le ti. Le dat ka ne ti ko kas agilo wi one hoki akilo we what I don't know legis kuni nella dina tung kale makisns kaswahan stekale vest kaya leki nitiko liko ki netiko venus netyo chilot sloan tete skele natte yotli wahtandi
Jatkaa skvinin Venus västlotsto. Da no nago sana hot. Ja.
nikunala lasti tahadong gode vest netiko na katin disko ko natte longo vest nekitiko leather vest patukung leather ne wahi yatste tahadong gode nikwi kade kini tikate kaya le tikan hakat kathot tikan wila nung wi to patukung ahonat sloni hak
Nokta tos dok tu na.
Kanok fest net hat honat shirt.
Lagi ni tin go lots to ke kana tian lo di ko na da sawi na te akio kanu sesne ngwa ke ka slo ne to ne kok ti ka det ko ti dat na to ke li wa ta di ga sto a kui lots ka le to yok ne ti lots ni ti na ni a ti ti ngwa so ta no ne ki to ne tu ti li wa ta di a ki na te a yo ya ni ti tha chhe kwa nok si dat ka handa ke no da le tu kui nu ya da ya te ka wa tu sa ko da ha si na te di li wa ta di da to ni
Westra hat na lo hati.
ta thì cả nào cũng tôi thà tao đi lấy gì xa cái quả cái nóc xịt thôi ha đâu á thì
Nei kun no niitä kannustun jukastikan no ninchika saga no sastan gede. Ja kide geja sun kannaten.
Kato ka chiya ya ko
Ngadu wasti ni hakwan yodun tikin ni hakwan yodu.
Se kon hun ka inda dia da staki ni ya no do tikan ko kato ka chiya ya ko sloni hati.
Colin chỉ cái ha đa đi à cái cả san cả store à quả cái nóc xịt quả thà đó này cũng ha đa
Kannuk chua taa dane. Nelskin on John Lightstocks jäkin on taitskun. Tuna hakwan yodu hak ja deal so yaunina ne Tommy Day yaunina ne Colin Hilton
Ne skvilla da di het ne skvilla kutlan hodung wasti ka ya ko ni ne no do.
Kun lukti velhätlä.
overcoat.
Yakin no do tikan hagilo ko ha hot sloni ha ke ladi na te yotli wahta di tikohan hodung go yakin no don ko kato ka chiya hat slon. Tenusni kuahtolahta jukas satekanus yolahta jukas lothalati. Nahnonet hat esinon muskanga vistagi hadadino
Hatkalla liivaska skiva.
Nitya kukunet hadun kode tika dat hadana heladun kalondesso hakukunet hadun kode china te jo deston kalunte. Ja kuanokti osses vitnunit vese hatloliti ne näin ko jätä liha takwa han prata halanas te son tagi no kala toi juan sodu negi jot juatstu kuakin auko tika hadunko Wahtina te hadana heladu hakukutu hadunko de nahte jo testu.
Seven hoa tistega hadilanda sinekuya huntunga inia tekiwa.
Okay, what's the next question?
What were your recreational activities in your teen years? Were there community clubs and teams? And how were there equipment or facilities in the community?
No equipment, no facility. All our recreation was done in our own yards.
We made our own.
Yeah. When we need kaholoda teenage walihuana ninun de twanage.
Tipatolito hadi. Questo non di totte tu cote. So de lo sonica ne. So los ni kilo otku is tot kaya. Okay. Ini de kana wa kilo na kini ya se ko totius.
Dan heke skrita de get dem go gan heke go slag gene to gi no gi no lagonle.
But I didn't Calvert kati.
Calvert, huh?
He's talking about as kids we used to have this culvert near where we lived, us three, and no matter what kind of weather it would be, we would go in this culvert and crawl through it, end up at the other end. Sometimes there'd be water in there and sometimes snow in there, but we'd still go in there. And that was our entertainment as, we were almost teenagers then.
That sounds fun.
But that was our main activity. And that culvert is still there right to this day.
Kala ekasa nika Sandy nika switida ni no he. You'd got it to know that this is when we were in our teenage years. There used to be a store they used to call Sandy's at the corner. And a lot of teenagers used to go there. I'm a lot older than these fellas, and those days my mother used to give me 25 cents because on Cristo wiskanot yokalas. Sandy and 25 cents I could buy Cracker Jack, collect Coke, bottle of Coke. 7 cents because nika no Coke da nunca go is ice cream nika this wa. And I could buy Cracker Jack 10 cents. Whiskenis 5 cents so call it that to the lucky elephant. And then tigo call it no stika no waka te quizane tika Coke nika this. Then I take it back in the store. Technical squinis tigo Today I sell the bottle back for 2 cents. And that was my bubblegum money, 2 cents. No 5 cents they used to have a kilo Nickelodeon got a jukebox Latina and you put your 5 cents in there and it plays country music. It played 3 songs for 5 cents.
Yeah.
Nostika toya quista that you go whisquinis. That's just once on you on a bench. And we have an ice cream cone, 5 cents, 3 cents ice cream cone. And that's just once we listen to the music, So somebody else would go in there and put their 5 cents in and we'd listen to more music. eating our ice cream, drinking our pop. I got 25 cents. And sometimes I have 5 cents left over going home. And that was my teenage years. And then later on, after I got married really young. And there was other activities going on. Like my late husband and I ran a kids' night, or I guess youth night, on Friday nights at the Anglican Church, and we had crokinole games and Chinese checkers, dominoes,
Dominoes.
and darts. And this lady, her name was Pierre Pearl John. We used to belong to Ladies Guild, and she gave me $5 when Leslie and I started this night. And she said, "Here, go and buy some wieners and buns and pop to sell at this night, Friday night." So I used to make hot dogs and sell glasses of pop, to the kids that were there. That was to raise money for the next event that we would have a Friday night. And this would be 10 cents for a hot dog and 5 cents for a glass of pop, And his grandmother used to make popcorn, and she donated that, so the kids had popcorn for free. And that was after I got married. That was I would say I got married in 1958. I would say this would be about maybe 1960 that we had this youth night. We called it youth night. That was run during the winter months, so the kids would have a place to go on Friday nights. As teenagers, Baptist Church used to have a youth night, and that's what teenagers used to gather there. I don't know what we did, but a lot of teenagers would go there, and a lot of teenagers would go just to meet their boyfriends or girlfriends. That's where young people met, in this church by the fairgrounds now. I think Colin was saying something about movie nights too.
Yeah, at the fairgrounds. Once a week.
Did it cost anything?
Must have been an old-fashioned movie.
I don't know, but
then we used to have skating down below Mount Elgin School too in the wintertime. And Mr. Joblin used to have lights up there. And
this is Halakwaka's pastor don't go there, pick up the kids.
yeah. And there used to be a lot of us down there, but that was every Saturday night. But back in the 50s, we had cold weather, so the ice was always thick. There'd be, at least 30 of us down there skating on whatever kind of skate we had. But a lot of us went just to be out too.
James would have different because he
there was never no end to activities, but we had to
make our own.
We had to make our own activities.
Because James is a lot younger than we are, so he would
Yakini is all talking what our Leotian. We got to go when we got your quake, got your content hotel. Quani knock, Kiko, Scanega, Nuguiayak, Tiawan late at the Cossack when I got to Sayago and no do it that you got on the acte, no Niago, was to no longer we need Diaguan to Diaconga. Noxiakini neti in Guagati win had the lost last fat on Guaneti yet cat in Guanaglago. The Queen got to Sayago, they need to get Ukiotana Sagat Kate Gadawata, Wages Letani, Neguitiana chung cái gì tai đó nên nó hi số cái gì sẽ có nó what thật chi trả là lý cả lẽ vào đó los lại đó xong cái quan sát đi nào nó cả sẽ ta cũng có và kêu ý kiến và cái gì và tôi sẽ rồi đâu qua này quý thấy số cái gì xong cái đặc ta how is canon can đặc ta chính là xong đấy thôi nó yang ta tôi cái này thao đó ông kỳ đâu này chỉ là cái nhà hồi lúc này chỉ những cái này ông để trả lời qua quan ta đi để chỉ qua xong ta để dạy là chúng qua sẽ nên mấy cái này thuộc nhiều đuôi chỉ kêu ýว่าก็ต้องว่าแต่ก็มุสกันเนี่ยว่าจากว่าตอนนี้มีการลงดาวน์โหลดอยากกินนี่น้องตัวเต้ว่าแค่นุ่งกาตาเกี่ยววินเนี่ยนุ่งกาดาวน์โหลดก็จีน่าให้วินกันนี่ตัวแก่เขาเลยน้องตัวเต้ว่าในที่หลังหน้ากันเลยคนนี้อยากกันนี่ทางตัวห้องเกสเด็ดคนกิจว่าเกสสิวินนะห้องตัวว่าแต่ก็อยากกินนี่นักเตะตัวกระโดดแต่เนี่ยสุนัขหนูอยากกินนักเตะตัวกระโดดแต่นักตกกระดาษแต่นี่ก็ตัดมุสกว่าเดสนายอันนั้นเองนกที่ในกินนี่จริงๆเลยสหางเก็กสตาร์เนี่ยนะจบก้าวตัวมุสกันเนี่ยมุกว่าดาวน์โหลดอะไรอันนั้นในกี่มุกดาวน์โหลดตรงข้างกินหาที่นั้นเนี่ยในก็เด็กสอนในสิวินเนี่ยกี่โลในมุกว่าดาวน์โหลดส่งไปที่ไหนกว่าถ้าอยากจะสอนที่สายคนเด็กกันล่าในใส่ก็แต่โน้ในกี่หลังเดียวกันนั้นอุตสาหะหรือสถานที่นี้นี่ยศนกที่ในสกีวังกว่าดาวน์โหลดเนี่ยก็ยุดการเด็ดเตียกวัดล่าในเขาเลยในกี่ในยุดการเด็วินอยากว่าในกี่ล่านะกุยว่าจะเห็นดากลีดาที่อาสเตเชียกว่าเด็กคนนี้น่าเศร้าขึ้นอยากกินอนดูวินในกันแต่การนี้ของเราเดี๋ยวนี้เสียวในร้ายอย่างว่าในกี่กว่ากินนกสิในหยกสิอินก็ดูสกว่าดูกุยแต่อยากว่าทารุณีแต่โน่นในกุยยุดการเด็วินหวยหวยในว่ากันเราใส่กี่จีกันโฮสนิก้าวลงท่านกสิทุกอย่างตัวเกลิเซ่เขาเลยในกุยน่าไก่ว่ากันตัวสควอตตรงกินทั้งกันนู่นนี่ก็จะจีว่าต้นแต่ตัวทารุณีเรื่องหวยหวยในแต่นู่นนั่งกุยก็นี่จีตัวเดียววินในนาเตะทุนยศใจโดดลีวัดนั่นจ้ะในกุยละกว่าจีนกว่ากันนักตัวนั้นทุนยศในกี่ว่าแกลาเลยสกิจีว่าตรงกุยตันตัวลาสก็อันตัวลีวัดนั่นจ้ะเตะนาเตะกว่าที่กี่วันสกว่านี่
นักศึกษาคุยทกโนเนี่ยว่าสกว่านั่นตรงดัชนตรงยุงกงก็จะดีกว่าอย่างนั้นสิอยากคุยน้องตรงกันที่จังหวัดนั่นเตะก็ที่นักกูนี่ด้านนี่ว่าดีว่าเด็กว่าตรงกว่านักศึกษาต้องว่าสกว่าดูกี่ว่า
แต่นักกูเนี่ยกูหวยน่ะอยู่กัดวัน
เอาว่าหวยกูยังก็ยกวันนี้ตัวของเขาสนิทแก
แต่อยู่แต่ก็เอาเรื่องอย่างนี้แต่ว่ากันเราใช้วินชาติที่กว่านู้นสิที่โอ้สนิทกันจะออกลงค่าวินที่ชาติที่กว่านู้นแต่นู้นอย่างนี้ก็โดนเด็กการลงค่าวินโหสนิทกันกว่าก็หางกว่าเราสักการแต่ก็แน่ในนาเตลหุ่นโดนนู้นตาตัวสกินได้ว่าเกี่ยวกับตอนนี้สตาร์วินโหสนิทกันนกเสียกี่ซึ่งที่นี่เดี๋ยวดอกแต่วิจินี่คนนัดแต่คนนี้วินทนุเดี๋ยวนี้ว่านกส่วนทุกทีนี่คนหัวตัวกุ้งเกี่ยวตัววิขนาดตะกุ้งเข้าเลยกว่าจกนู้นนะเฮ้หุ่นตัวหุ่นเกี่ยว
เดี๋ยวสกัดเนี่ยก็สกิดกันตัวดัชนุ่งตัวนี้กูจีนี่นี่จิตอยู่กัดตัวเดียวก็นี่เด็ดไปยันเดลิกกันจกนู้นอย่าได้ตัวนี่คนหลักแล้วสกินี่ตัวนี้กิโลแล้วสกินี่แล้วสกินี่สกัดตัวเดียวนี่จินี่เซนี่ยัดวินจานเนตหานี่กิลากว่าจะกว่านั้นยันว่าตัวเดียวกินว่าทำรถทนายวันนี้วิใครสวนาหนุ่มฮาดีก็จกนู้นสกนั่นแหละสถามิสโนสติกสถามิชงกันในลาโก้นสกก็เดนิอาเซอยากขี่สเลททักกี้วิจิอันนี้ในกีฬานั่นเนี่ยก็สว่าองค์วิสต์ว่าเกิดสัตว์ลานั่นนี่ก็เลยเกิดคนยานะแฮมเบอร์กตัดนี่ฮัตตาในวิธีก็จินโยเล่หัวดินหัวนาเดนหัวตัวเสลิวิล lagi lagi cicah lagi wah terjak wah tadi tu kui sekiat ko te cino tana tadi akina te nah te wi ta kani ke cata hati ni kulha Kos yuk no wes konya skiti akilo i wakas wonki wisto ya kete kona na tadi kata satalan
Kunta ja uskon duunikin va.
Meskinen sauknun teknin jo huistain on hundun kaljakkeen hagit jo kvaatea kotin tahke toski kisi driftut tonua hundekkonia.
Tani kibis.
Men kan jokas jo lenati ni kuas jokna no kun nuo dekta ne ne tjaku hatstin sa hona ni nahtellone.
Kalle Scottsville kaskuisa jatskade no lagon hedin. Hattaaks kui jau kunta duuni.
Wa.
What long hot dog?
Was tjaunte uskakas jo huistailu den hodo hetken tai ohawati. Toski sano ja hotilan espotia.
Kalle tika kipis pas tika wiskadot jo kalau honi se lo raden hotung pane wici lo nanu te wika ni thati asa tunu ya te honla kui kochen de lo te asa no ne nei kale jukebox tika tunu
Ja tiigal, ha.
Kostine tia kwa nasa skele tika lasinaski tika los le tai ne ja ko ja noktia te kani on de license plate. Hala kwa nokes no lo yo kwa se ko kwinyo le highway yo kwa le. Hala kwa nokes no lo yo kwa se na highway han wa yo kata on ta ke te kani on de license plate. Nastika na ya kwa we kipis hala akan jika nusa dakna kades letana dakte ama katain kato jate kani on de license plate. Nokti was kuya kwa na no hade wi kani jo kwa ya se kino do ta kilo kana te wi ayun li waksa te ka kwa no kya kwa te kwa ta ya te kwa hatta khapa pokalewi wa kwa kalya ke wi wa hon no don jukebox. Ja, wes ka don skiti kane.
Tuolla jagvis on tii lämpös vi dessa stund. Tui on jo la.
All meal.
Da, tika tekin all meal.
Tika doni nen all meal.
Så tui tii window place vi joye on.
Oh.
Dessa kwadastus jo la kutsaknu kai ningan sak. Ningenen hot dogs kal jukebox.
Wini
Jo jalong
Cuma bila kada todo kan kaya nyusak.
What kinds of things did your family members make?
Ja kwino na ho geni na ho.
Ot na ho.
Na te lo do ni he ka sa wa jla na ho da ni.
Ningenen har du klar? Kan du stå her skune doni?
Wat nou?
Kan du stå her? Ja.
Aha.
Ja kini na ho.
Kalle iät.
Kun ni nokti ja kiun.
Ja kini nengi noksi laksotani la nuni he ka jotka kostaute nekin nouskan ja ko se ka kosanyo ko ja te on da ke on kaukluan hawa hala. No kui wo hia da ke na te wi kokti ga chok nun de ko wen cha do ko sa ku na le to sa ko e ka nen ne ge le te lo la no le te wa ha ne ki se kui no sat ste mi ste ka ko on ku ya da ken nen na cha ga we na sto hale ka la ha ki wa la ko nok si ya ko wa no hale ka no to ke ven de ta wi na to a ka nen na is ne ki tu is ko skan ne sa yak ni la no ka wa ha ne ki wa se ven de ta ne ki china te wa ku le ni wa nok si muska ki china te ang ku wa no do ha lo ta ga no do sa la na ni wa ha lo kokskana ji wa se de ta ne kokki ja na ta dai sa no ya ni te ha se la no se un kok ta to do jo wa ha ta di ha we a ko na te wa de ste ne kui tu ni jo sa ka le dat no kwa du ze thon sa di nang kui ne to kni ko wi chi ni ko ha di ga ke to kui ni ko nok sia kui na te sa ka lo ni
Asta di niet ke kusadlo nun he wagan mutta jo golan ni se satst. Na
tekni on no wa
golan ni sa di negen non jolli.
Kwa ki tini osno lo ne ganus ne ya sa
O
din
wat in so vel.
Toi wat non dio liho de sa la ne ti kun kaya ta ken ha.
Usko puat latsti jo saat.
Kwa ki nok tien de sa da sa ha Tahan tos kyun ten yung gai kan toya yang wat tona.
Kaya gone to Hakatok no.
Teka kapslak.
Asa no kyun muska kale acha des wasa.
Nikikade gone to kayang video. Kochante nali eba mutike kutinguat video wat lanoni he ne yot stud nikan
Ne.
kakawi hokong. There's a video here about using ashes to make corn soup.
Mus tu agyo ya na te kun so de
Oh,
tian.
no, det blir så jag vet kun hokkan la satst.
Yanko.